Okay, she's here. She's dressed as a 90s Gap ad. It is Sara Haines joining us behind the table. Hello, Sara.
Hi, Brian.
How are you?
I do look like a Gap. I look like a Gap. Well, not the same.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is a style. This
I'm
is
like
a look.
a Gap mannequin right now.
Yeah, you look fantastic. Let's get right into politics.
Yep.
This fight for proxy voting in Congress struck a chord with you. You got very excited about talking about this morning and on the show. And for those that don't know, a bipartisan group of lawmakers came together over a new push for new mothers and fathers to be able to vote by proxy. This is 9 Republicans that joined on with Democrats to tank a procedural rule, to get rid of a procedural rule that would have blocked it. Basically, they're gridlocking the House. What do you make of all that?
There are so many antiquated rules when it comes to what our world looks like. And one of them is it's not just women, although I'll come from the mom angle. When you're a new mom, if you want to vote, having had a baby should not be held against you. And if you could vote by proxy, it wouldn't be held against you.
Right.
And pretty much that's just saying you can't be there in person. But I think about all the things, pregnancy and the way women are having babies. There are so many things that somehow got grandfathered in regards to how we treat pregnant women. I remember working up to the day I was here.
Yeah.
Up to the day I had Alec, I worked up to having every kid. I was back afterwards.
You went into labor because Naughty by Nature made you dance.
Well, it was probably because of the move I did, and I was trying to be funny, but it definitely broke my water. But that's side note. I have the privilege of not having to work right up to the moment, and there are people that must, and they must work right after they have babies and everything else. And in a world where we honor the family and we encourage it when people want it, the Republicans are the party of family values. The second the family plays out in real time, no one helps them out. And this doesn't just apply to women. It applies to new parents of all kinds. Those early days and not being able to physically leave your baby or not being able to leave your wife. Like I had some severe postpartum. That all helps in equalizing the playing field for women and men in these positions because it's making women choose. And the ultimate feminism of the life we lead now is that we have choices, not that we make one version of a choice. So there are people that already put off things because we've been told for decades it'll work against your career. Those days are over. And the other thing is I thought the pandemic would fix some of this in regard to FaceTime at work. I thought when the pendulum swung back after the pandemic, that work would no longer require that 5-day work week, the metaphorical 9 to 5 type thing, and that they'd allow for modern lifestyles to prevail because busy parents, and I specifically mean moms, but I don't want to rule out those really participating dads, the 9 to 5 work week was before we had an industrialized society and women were at home and men were at work and they left in a car and came back late. All these things just don't work for how life looks now. And that really bothers me because asking to vote by proxy, we should care that our representatives are doing the actual job and that having a baby doesn't derail that. It's just crazy.
I try to tell everybody, people we work with, obviously, but even my friends that are outside of here, it feels in the moment, I have to get back to work. I'll be judged if I take too much time. I mean, moms obviously need the most, but for my male friends too, you don't get that time back. And in the end, I remember being so stressed out. I think I took 2 weeks off for both my children.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling guilty about it. No one put that on me, but I remember feeling I was very interested. What did this guy do? What did this guy do? Am I taking more than anybody else did?
Yeah.
And in retrospect, it's the silliest thing. I'm at a different job now. That didn't matter. Nobody held it against me. And that time with my kids you can't get that back. It's important. And to be there for my wife and to be there in those early days and to kind of figure out what it means to be a dad, that was really important. So,
well, not to contradict my point of, I was lucky enough to have really healthy pregnancies where I could work like that. But the other part is we're the wealthiest nation with the lowest maternal, we have awful, not only kind of postpartum care for the moms and the babies. We lose a lot of moms in childbirth in a time we should not be losing them. And a lot of people also have complications with that. And so the fact that if they're interested or want to vote, that completely takes them off the table is just not fair.
No, it's ridiculous. And it seems like an easy...
It's an easy fix that's not controversial.
Right. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
The other story we talked about today, or actually earlier in the week, it was the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Liberal judge Susan Crawford won despite Elon Musk spending millions against her personally. I mean, there was a lot of money on both sides here, but Elon Musk's personal donations here and paying $1 million to people that put down a petition. This was the big story. It didn't work. You had a big takeaway from that applies to both sides of the aisle. Tell me about it.
I don't like money in politics.
Sure.
When every person, Alyssa confirms this all the time, but every strategist we've had here, political operative, all the people that are in the trenches say one of the big indicators of how an election will go is the donations and money. And I'm kind of like, I get that means a lot of coverage and maybe name recognition. But the fact that the more money you pour in, the more likely you are to win kind of betrays the idea of democracy to me. The whole one vote, that why do we have that? And then when it comes to Congress in DC, there's a reason why common sense laws don't pass, because there is dirty money through lobbyists in every pocket on every side of the aisle. And that's why when we say, the government shuts down and Congress gets paid anyway, we're asking people to vote on where their interests lie. It's inherently built to be corrupt almost. And I'm not saying our entire system is corrupt, but there's a lot of financial interess.
And it doesn't always work out that the most money means
it doesn't. So
but it's certainly an impact.
It's and that's again, it pisses me off because there's an elite nature to DC and the impenetrable part. But if you have money, you're welcome to the table. And that's the point, is this country, the distance between the haves and the have-nots just gets further and further and further apart. And the people that have not don't have a voice. And it's impossible to get voices in there that fight for their causes when there's always money on the other side of the argument.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch gears. There was a Dear Abby story on the Hot Topics list that we've been talking about on the podcast. I'm curious to get your take on it. How do I manage friendships in which you're close to one friend but don't enjoy spending time with the new spouse? And do you slowly pull away from the relationship, or do you confront the friend and kind of let them know how you feel?
Well, let's start with you don't confront the friend.
Everyone seems to be completely on that page.
Yeah, you don't confront the friend. If someone asks for your opinion when it's still up in the air and no one's promised anyone anything, you can give your opinion when asked. If you think it's completely toxic and awful, definitely chime in if you care about the person. But when it comes to who they pick, it's a package deal. And you have to find how much it bothers you. One, I think buck up, because honestly, families are made of this stuff. You go to any big family function and they've seen everything at that table and you have not approved of all of it, So you have to learn how to navigate the world. The world is not going to be pleasing. It's not going to be fun. I swear the universe messes with me. The universe messes with me by sending someone home with each of my siblings at one point that I despised, and I got in trouble for it at times. Yep. So,
but I was right.
I was right twice with the same sibling, but you can actually, she knows. But I think that's the thing is when you love people, you're getting everything that comes with them. I mean, how many times have you met someone that their child was annoying?
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, how did that amazing human, because children are little animals, but
to find a total package family is
you're not going to find it.
Yeah,
you're not going to find it. There are times you even like the child, and you're like, how did those two parents birth this child who seems like
Now the rule's different when you're dating, because there's someone who works with us. I've worked with her for 25 years in different places, and we used to go out with a group of friends, and this is before I met my wife.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
This is before I met my wife, and I would occasionally bring dates out. We'd go to a karaoke bar, we'd hang out. And one day, I remember this, I was dating this nice, pretty girl. Yeah, it's her. We're a video podcast, though, so when you mouth the name, people might figure it out, but that's fine. It's not going to hurt her. So what happens is...
Should I whisper it into my...
No, you're correct. That's who it is. Okay. But she pulls me aside. I'm still on this date, and she's like, you got to stop bringing this girl. She brings nothing to the table. And I was interested in it. I mean, she brought things to the table for me, but she apparently brought nothing to the table for the rest of the room.
Not for the group.
No, not for the group.
It wasn't that kind of
Do
date.
you ever do that? Do you ever say like this? I guess she was boring or shrill or something. I don't know.
So there's a difference. If someone's just boring or doesn't, that's different. So I actually, it's funny. I have a very close friend who has an in-law that ends up at things. And this in-law is actually a little offensive. Like you're sitting at a table and I know he's good-natured, but the things he says, you're like, oh gosh, by association, you're in a restaurant and whoever's waiting on the table, you're like, I hope they don't think we're all like that.
Yeah.
So those people to me can be problematic. That's when you have to draw a boundary.
Right.
But if you don't just love the person and they don't entertain you, they're not there for you.
Well, that was my feeling. Like, I mean, granted, like maybe she was a dud, but she wasn't offensive.
Now, if she's stealing all the Pat Benatar songs at karaoke and she sounds good, let's get rid of her.
Yeah, I think she was just sitting there and like clapping when other people sang.
That's fine. That's a great.
Yeah,
I love friends like that. Just clap for me.
Yeah, brings nothing to the table.
No, that sounds more like something you'd say to
me.
Yeah. This dud brings nothing to the table.
Again, it was like 25 years ago. All right. So Alyssa said that when she and Justin first went to dinner with you and Max, she felt like it was taking a shot in the dark because she didn't know how she was going to get along with Max or how long you would get along with Justin or they get along with each other. Did you feel the same way or were you confident from the start?
So whenever I like someone, I just go ahead and assume I'm going to like whoever they're with.
That's a dangerous game to play. I don't think it's always accurate.
Well, it doesn't mean you love them the same way, but I know that. So whereas the couple knows a lot more about each other and themselves than you do. Usually you're coming in and I'm more curious to find the yin to the yang.
Well, that's the thing. You and Max are yin and yang.
Yes.
We
are not samesies.
I enjoy you both, but you're very different.
Yeah. You seem to like Max more, but it's fine because I like
depends.
Heather more.
I know. Now, Heather and I actually are not that different.
You have a lot of sameness.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I don't go in assuming when I meet someone, their partners like them. Because what I want to do is find out what their mix is. Is it because they literally run around Disney World like little kids as grown adults? That's you and Heather. Or is it that they complement qualities?
Right.
But I do. It is rare that I don't like someone's partner when I like them.
Oh, I see. I find that happens to me often.
It rarely does to me because if you like that person and they picked that person, most likely there's going to be common ground.
The dream is you have a friend and you meet the spouse and you like them better. I'm like, oh, that's great.
That's what happened for me with Heather.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Justin and Alyssa, though, we were on a text chain after that dinner, and we were laughing so hard because both Alyssa and I think but talk the same way at the table. Alyssa's not a super chatty. The table got talking about things, and everyone's kind of going. But Justin and Max hit it off. So the text chain turns into this bromance where it's like a gazillion texts of the guys. And then Alyssa's like, hey, knock, knock, I'm still here.
A lot of flag emoji, fire emoji, fist emoji. Yeah, like
and
that.
So, and then whenever something happens and we see Alyssa on CNN or there's elections and Max is like, what's going on or what, he'll send it to the group and Justin and he go back and forth. I'm like, the question was for Alyssa, guys. Like, they hit it off. They actually.
Do you have you're not a great texter? I'm going to be honest, and maybe that's because we work together
I'm
or
not
what.
A great
but
texter,
you're not a great texter. No. You're kind of disappointing. I send you a meme, you don't respond.
But some of they're not funny, or I don't get them.
I think it's more the latter. But next time we'll post them on the View chat and see if everybody else thinks they're funny.
You sent me one that I said, just explain it to me and then I'll respond.
Yes. Well, that's sad. Yeah.
I know, but I didn't get it, which means you weren't funny. You didn't know your audience.
Or you didn't get it. Regardless, but I was going to say, do you have those group chats where you just chat with people all the time? I have a group chat that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 12 people on it and it's never quiet. It's going off right now.
I have a few of those. I'm not one of the leading forces in any group chat unless a plan or a specific question has been asked. I'm more of a voyeur on those. I like watching the host.
You're very quiet on the host chat.
Yeah, because there's so much funny going back and forth that I'm much more in eating popcorn and watching it.
Right.
There's the host chat. I have a book club chat. I have a high school chat. My crew that you've met that's come here multiple times, we're in a chat. I have a family chat. Between all of those groups, there's always something going on.
Right.
So my phone's, and usually it blows up all at once. And you're like, oh, and it's always the same conversation. But I'm never a big participator.
Yeah.
Not in group chats.
All right. Do you not get their jokes either, or is it? Okay. We had Broadway great Audra McDonald here with us today, and she talked about having a 24-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter, which is just hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Also, she looks so young and way too young to have these 24-year-old. And basically, her 24-year-old daughter told her that the negative self-talk that Audra did around her affected her own self-esteem. And that she should try not to do that again with the 8-year-old daughter. And at first I was like, wow, that's a tough thing to say to your mom. But then I'm realizing, you know what? There are 24-year-olds with young children.
Yeah.
Like this is the age she's at. It's appropriate.
Yeah, and it's insightful to have a grown. Most siblings, I would say, the norm is probably closer siblings. So they grow up as a chunk, and then they talk about you in therapy as a group. Like, so that's also a chat. But I think this was so insightful because I would argue, I think so many people do. My mom and my dad talked about their bodies, and it's something Max and I really try to avoid because the daughter was saying the way you always talked about yourself in a negative way.
It really impacted
and
them.
she was expressing that she never said that about her daughter. And Joy chimed in and said, same for me. I never said it about her. But the point is, you are literally a living example. And someone once said this to me, what you tell them will not be as important as what you show them. And that's in how you speak with your partner. It's how you talk to them. It's how you talk to your friends. It's how you make time for yourself, whether that's work or girl time or guy time, whether it's one-on-one time with them. Every example you're setting for them and living through will be the biggest indicator of how they understand the world.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's a big one for me because Max is actually, as the woman, I would expect I'd be the one saying it. I think things sometimes, but if my kids are anywhere near me, I don't talk about it. Max will go up to the mirror and literally check himself out. And he's like, oh, do I look thick here? And I'm like, Max, everyone's watching you right now. And like, kids are being impressed upon and they're watching daddy like squeeze himself. I'm like, can you not do that?
Yeah.
And then at dinner once we were eating ice cream and he's like, I'm going to have to ride 20 miles tomorrow. And I was
mean,
like,
he's also in terrific shape. So this is kind of ridiculous. But
yes. he used to do the Joe Manganiello workouts or Manganiello, whatever. But I said, Max, don't talk about food that way. Like, talk about it as fuel. And, and he's like, well, I was trying to explain that like when you eat a lot of ice cream, I was like, whatever you're trying to explain, like, stop. Like,
all right. Last night, you and Sonny went to the premiere of The Amateur. Rare for you to go out on a weeknight.
Yes.
Our guest, Lawrence Fishburne, today was in it. He's so cool. So cool. How was the movie?
It was great. And I was happy because I thought I love movies. So one thing I miss about having more free time, which I hate to always say because I have kids, but when Max and I just were together without kids, we'd go to movies all the time. It's much harder with childcare and getting people, we don't go as much. I love movies. It's the thing I missed most in the pandemic. I don't get out enough. I don't go to premieres. And when the movie ended last night, I thought, thank God this was a good one.
Yeah. No, because it's a big commitment to be out.
But I did share with Lawrence Fishburne when he left. This is funny. At the beginning of the movie, the director was speaking, and then the cast comes out, and then the director offers Rami Malek to speak as the lead in the movie. And I told Lawrence Fishburne this. I kept thinking, when he finished, and he's like, I think that wraps it up. I was like, what does Lawrence have to say? Does he want to say anything? I was so uncomfortable that Lawrence wasn't, and that is not to age shame
sure.
But like Lawrence Fishburne is like,
no, everyone else should fall silent when he's
in
the
me,
room. Yes,
like,
no, I feel the
why
same way.
is he in the middle of the group? Why does he not have his own pathway? Why is he not talking?
Yeah.
Why is he not holding the mic? I was so shaken by it, and I shared it, and he goes, "That's sweet." And I go, "No, I can't have been alone in that room." It felt so uncomfortable that Lawrence Fishburne didn't start the remarks.
There are people you meet, and it's the presence, and it's everything he's done. But also, he just has an aura. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
He has a star quality that it felt like I was at a wedding where the first speech to the bride was done by a friend of the groom, not the groom. Like, it felt like it needed to be Lawrence Fishburne.
Speaking of Lawrence Fishburne, he said the story on The View today that I couldn't believe. He said that he offered to be in the fourth Matrix movie, and they didn't respond well to that. Now, to be fair, I also offered to be in the fourth Matrix movie, and they didn't respond well to that either.
That tracks.
But I'm trying to figure this out. Like, I don't understand how that could happen. And I love
Was it the same team that made it?
Some of the same team, not everybody.
Because sometimes it's that politics thing.
It might be,
you're
but
someo's person.
It's Lawrence Fishburne.
Agreed. Back to the mic moment.
Morpheus. Have you seen The Matrix?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to make
the
sure.
Red pill, blue pill?
Yeah. Okay. Is that?
Don't play that. Oh shoot.
Are you doing slow-mo bullet time?
Yes.
Wow. All right. That's
Did you not feel the need to do that too?
No, I did not.
Not even a little.
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. But wow. All right.
That was rough.
Well, who needs to make a fifth Matrix movie now when you have that? Frankly, that's about all you need.
That's the outtakes.
Yeah.
Lawrence looks better every day, right, guys?
Oh my God. All right. On that note, thank you for joining me here today, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll be back behind the table on Monday with anybody know? It could be anyone.
One of the hosts of The View.
One of the hosts of The View. You know who's not going to be? Sara Haines.
It's not going to be me.
No, but we have an all-new show.
I'm a once-a-month special.
We have an all-new show tomorrow, which is awesome, and it's got Kevin Bacon on it.
I love Kevin Bacon.
It's got one of my favorite actors from The West Wing, Dule Hill,
Oh,
which is very exciting.
yes.
So, and spanking new hot topics. So good stuff. All right.
gonna be great.
Oh, and the Weekend View. It never stops.
No, it doesn't.
It never stops.
As Joy would say, oh my God, we're on again.
That's right. See you all then.